Hello everybody, my name is Kate Milner and this is my studio where I do the drawing and painting that goes into the books I make. And the lovely people of Manchester Libraries have asked me to come and talk to you. Well, I was going to come in actual person, which would have been more fun, but still, at least I can tell you about the book that I made, which is called My Name is Not Refugee. But before I actually look at the book, I wanted to start off by showing you a picture of some zombies. Anybody who is scared of these sorts of things, when I ask you to close your eyes, and then I'll tell you when to open them again, okay? Close your eyes now if you're scared. So there were some zombies from a computer game. You can open your eyes now, by the way. So why do you think I wanted to show you zombies when I'm supposed to be talking to you about refugees? Why do you think I did that? Well, about 5 years ago, when you were a lot littler than you are now, all the television programmes and the newspapers and the radio seemed to be telling me that there was an army of zombies heading my way from the south, and that they were coming into our country and they were going to bring disease and they were going to take our jobs and they were going to take our homes, and we should also all be really, really scared. And I thought, I'm going to ask myself and find out, is that true? Is that what's really happening? There is a country called Syria which has been having a civil war. I don't know if you know what a civil war is. It's the absolute most horrible kind of war there is. None of them are great, to be honest. But it's where people in the same country turn against each other. And it has been awful for the people who live there. Some of the civilians in the war, that means not soldiers, decided that they couldn't take it anymore, and they decided to walk from their home in Syria into Europe. And this map shows you the way that they went. So I'm going to go through my book with you now, which is really about a very small family, a mother and a little boy, as they made that journey from Syria into Europe. We'll have to leave this town, my mother told me. It's not safe for us, she said. Shall I tell you what it will be like? Can you see here that I've drawn a picture of things being packed up, ready to go? The cat's having a good look, isn't it? And can you see at the top there's a picture in a frame of a person seen from the side? Not quite sure who that person is. Let's see if we can work it out, shall we? I think it's his grandma, and he's saying goodbye to his grandma here. It says, we'll say goodbye to old friends. You can pack your own bag, but remember, only take what you can carry. Have a think. If you had to leave your home in a hurry, who would you miss? Who would you have to say goodbye to? Hopefully you'd go with your mum and dad and your brothers and your sisters, but what about your grandma and your granddad? What about cousins? What about people that are friends from school? You might have to say goodbye to them and not know when you'd ever see them again. There's somebody else our little boy is going to have to say goodbye to, and that's his old cat. You can't put a cat on a lead and make them go on a very long journey with you if they don't want to come. But hopefully Grandma will look after the cat for him. When we look at this page, when I'm talking to people in school, we talk quite a lot about what are the things that would make you need to leave where you live. You normally get your food from the shops, don't you? But how does the food get there? Well, somebody in a lorry has got to drive it to the shops for you to buy. But what if you live in a place where there's a war going on? You'd probably find that there were holes in the road where bombs had fallen, and you might find that there are not the people to drive the lorries because they've run away or they're involved in the fighting. So those lorries with the food isn't going to get through. Of course, we all know that you need water and you need electricity. We couldn't manage for more than a few hours without those sorts of things. But why do you think I put in a picture of bin bags? Well, if nobody comes and collects the rubbish, if it just piles up in the street, that can lead to disease. Maybe there's no hospitals working. Maybe the doctors have had to leave and there's nobody to look after you if you get sick. There comes a point where my mum and dad, your mum and dad, anybody's mum and dad would think, I have to get my children away from here because they just aren't safe anymore. So this little boy starts off with bags of enthusiasm. It says, we'll march and dance and skate and run and walk and walk and wait and wait. I don't know if you're particularly good at walking. I'm not really. But do you think you could walk from where you live to the Central Library in the middle of Manchester? Could you do that? Maybe, maybe not. Well, when I drew this picture book, I was thinking about those Syrian refugees who've had to walk all the way from Syria to Germany. And that would be the same as you walking from Manchester to London and then back again, and then back to London, then back again, and then to London and back again, and then doing that 2 more times. It's a huge journey. Do you think you could walk that far? It says sometimes we'll be by ourselves. It might get a bit boring. This is actually quite a boring picture, isn't it? Because I wanted the picture to show you how dull it can be to wait in the same corridor for hours and hours and hours. So here they are, part of a flow of people who are all going the same way. And can you see there's all sorts of people, some in wheelchairs, some old people, some young people, people with suitcases carrying the stuff that they own on their backs. I don't know if you've ever been in like a big crowd, perhaps in a concert or an airport, or perhaps watching a football match, and there's loads and loads of people that you don't know. It can be quite interesting, can't it? But also quite scary at the same time. I think that's how this little boy is feeling at the moment. He's hanging on to his mother's leg, isn't he, just to stay safe. I very much wanted to put a picture in the book that was about something interesting, exciting happening, something nice, because I think if you're making such a long journey, yes, you might get tired and it might be worrying at times, but there'd also be new things to see. It might be quite exciting, actually. So I tried all sorts of things, but this is what we came up with in the end. Lots of trucks all going one way. But can you see I've kind of mixed up modern vehicles like lorries and cars with somebody who's got a donkey and a cart. If you look closely, you'll also see there's a sheep in the middle of all that traffic, and he doesn't quite know what's going on and he's not heading in the right direction. It says we'll sleep in some strange places, and the question asked, where would you brush your teeth or change your pants? This picture was actually the first picture I made for the book, because there were scenes on television when I was doing it of refugees who'd come from Syria, and they were sleeping on train stations, on the platforms there. And in some ways you can see that makes sense. Hopefully they're out of the rain and there's some toilets they can use and perhaps somewhere to buy some food. But I think sometimes the people who lived in those German towns must have been a bit confused when they went to get their train to work and they found that there was people all over the platform and all the rubbish they'd left, the empty water bottles and things. Must have been a very strange situation. Have you ever had that experience where maybe you're on holiday or you're visiting family and they offer you some food that you don't know what it is? How do you feel about that? Are you excited or are you worried? When I was making this picture, I was thinking about my own little boy, and we went on holiday to Turkey when he was 9 or 10, and he is quite a fussy eater actually. And I could remember how he looked at all the food, not knowing what it is and being really worried about eating it. So you've walked to a new country where hopefully it's safer, but you don't understand where you're supposed to go, you don't understand what's safe to eat, and more basic than that really, you don't understand what anybody's saying to you. And that's not just people talking to you. You don't understand the signs, you don't understand what the food packaging means, you don't understand how to get a bus and how to pay for the ticket, all the things that if you live in a place you take for granted, don't you? But I think it must be a very weird experience to turn up in a new city and trying to work out what to do. So finally they've got themselves to a place where they can relax and unpack and get some rest. And can you see there's that picture of the grandma up on the shelf there to remind them of home? So there's something different about the picture on this page. I don't know if you can work out what it is. Can you see I've used some solid blue there? It's the only place in the book where there's a solid colour. And I've done that because it makes this room in which they're sleeping feel much more contained and much more safe. It's like a guard around them. But also I wanted you to think about how small this room is. I was thinking about the sort of room that students sometimes live in. Lots of people think that the people who came from Syria into Europe were poor people, and they came here because they want what we have. They wanted our money and our homes and our jobs. But actually that's not true. A lot of those people were quite well off in their country. They were dentists and teachers and engineers, and they had nice houses. And often they've come to places that are not as nice as the ones that they've left. But sometimes feeling safe is more important. If you were in their shoes, I think you might agree with them. So as I can expect you can work out, this final picture of the book, I made it like this because I wanted you, people who might be reading this book, to think, if I see somebody in the playground who is a stranger and perhaps doesn't speak my language all that well, perhaps I should go up to play with them, make them feel better, because that would be a really kind thing to do. It says, you'll be called refugee, but remember, refugee is not your name. When I was talking about my book to some children, I think this was in Edinburgh this happened, a little boy asked me a question and he said, is your story real? And I thought that's a really interesting question and a really difficult one to answer. That this mother and this little boy with this cat and this grandma did exactly these things in exactly the order that I've shown them in my book. No, it's not real. But that these people did have to leave their country and walk all the way into Europe with what they could carry, and that they had these experiences, that is real. And what I've done is made a story about what is a real situation. And having done it, I'm pretty sure that they're not zombies. I'm pretty sure that they're just ordinary people like you and me who are trying to feel safe and get on with their lives. And I think that's really important to say. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much for Manchester Libraries for asking me to do this. Hopefully one day I'll be able to come and talk to you in person, and then I can have a good look at you and you can have a good look at me, and we can do some drawing things as well, which would be fun. Bye.